I can teach you, buddy.
Hello everyone, I'm Tyler, and welcome to another episode of Player One Start. Today we're going to talk about the arcade 1-up cabinets that I got over Christmas break. So I actually started looking at these when they first came out. I saw a lot of other people on YouTube and other gaming communities online talking about these machines, and I thought I would like to get one for myself. However, I was really driven away by the price point of these machines, especially after I started hearing the initial reviews. I started seeing a lot of reviews that people were saying that these things were very cheaply made, that the wood that was used to put the panels together was just cheap particle board. I heard a lot of people having problems with the monitors and the joysticks once they did get things together, and I just really didn't want to risk it at the price they were selling. However, shortly before Christmas, two things happened that allowed me to get these machines. First, I had some rewards points to spend that would allow me to get a lot of money off one of these machines. And on top of that, I saw that these machines actually dropped in price significantly right before Christmas. So I took the opportunity to, in the combination of my rewards points and the price drop, that I thought, okay, it's definitely worth it to get one of these machines. I figured even if the electronics inside of them are not very good, I can salvage the cabinet to make my own arcade machine out of it if I choose to later on. But let's go ahead and take a look. I got two machines. The first one I got was Pac Man. Pac Man is one of my all-time favorite arcade games. I have played it for hours and hours, and I would really love to play it on an arcade machine anytime I want. So I figured this one would be a very good one for me to get. So before I delve into what I actually think about these machines, let's go ahead and go through the assembly. Arcade 1-Up is the company that has been producing these machines since October of 2018. It appears that the initial goal of these machines is to provide a cost-effective way for people to collect an arcade-style machine and play some of their favorite old arcade games in a cabinet setting. Because there are not that many games that come on these machines, I had to pick a game that I knew I would want to play over and over and over again like I would in the arcades, and so for that reason I chose Pac Man. When assembled, this cabinet will be about 4 feet tall, but I decided to get the riser so you can play it while standing up. As you can tell from the box, it advertises that it is set for continuous play, as it does not take quarters. It has authentic arcade controls, you can see the joystick and buttons off to the side, and it says it is easy to assemble. Now I can't read the print below that, but I'll tell you in a little bit why I think that that's a matter of perspective. And it advertises that it includes 2 games, which is Pac Man and Pac Man Plus. It also says that the LCD monitor is 17 inches, which I feel is very adequate for displaying a game like Pac Man. When I opened my box, I noticed that it had been taped shut, and it looked like it had been opened and retaped shut at some point. I'm not quite sure if this model has been opened before, but the box is in, I guess, rough condition, but that could just be because it's kind of heavy, and I can see people who are working at a retail store not taking very good care when they were stocking this machine. But anyway, it comes with a pamphlet for advertising future arcade releases, along with a pamphlet for more Pac Man stuff. That pool table looks kind of cool. An ad for a Pac Man plug-and-play game, the warranty information, and the assembly instructions, although I should note these are also available online. One thing I say is nice is that the only tool you really need to assemble this machine is a screwdriver. A Phillips head screwdriver to be precise. It does warn you against using a power drill, and I'll talk more about that later. But the first order of business is to find the board labeled G and insert some pegs into it, so we'll do that. I'm going to go ahead and get everything unboxed so I can lay it all out. Here is the arcade control panel. I believe this also has the motherboard inside of it as well that will control the entire game. Here is the screen. And this plastic bag has the power cable, but it also has all of the fasteners and pegs you'll need to assemble everything together, so I'm going to get all that spread out. And now inserting some pegs in some holes. This is pretty easy. But the next step is to get this assembled to one of the side panels, so I'm going to go ahead and get that laid out. And I should note that it might be easier to do this with 2 people, even though I'm assembling this by myself. I kept thinking if I had a third arm, I could possibly do this a bit quicker and more efficiently. I also want to note that before you attach this board to the side panel, you want to make sure that you have the cut slot on the bottom facing in the right direction. You want it pointed up towards the top of the cabinet, and you also want it towards the back, so when you slide in the back panel, it'll automatically fit into that little cutted slot. And once those are screwed in, you now have 3 more panels to insert pegs into. It's a little tricky to make sure you know which way these panels are supposed to face, but it's not too bad. Next, we're going to install mounting brackets on the screen bezel so that we can mount it inside of the cabinet. And this is one of the points where the manual warns you about not over-tightening the screws. Because this particle board is a bit more, I want to say, fragile or brittle than regular wood, you can actually force it apart by over-tightening the screws. So once the screws are in and it's tight to the touch, you should stop screwing in the screw. Otherwise, you're going to strip out the entire assembly and the screw will just fall out. Once you have the mounting brackets on, you are free to install the screen into the side panel. So far, this is what your arcade cabinet should look like. After that, you'll install the marquee, and then it will be time to put the other side panel on top of this one. That's a little bit of a tricky process that for some reason I lost the footage of, but once you get all the pegs to fit in, it works out pretty easily. Once you get that second panel on, you're free to stand at the machine for the first time. And now you're going to insert the screws into the other part of the mounting bracket to get that screen more secured. And although I didn't film it, here's the next step I took. It was actually a process of putting the game logos in, make sure that that faces out, and then the piece marked J goes in there, and that's just a regular piece. Peel off the screen film, and then you're free to hook up the arcade panel, the control panel anyway, and then you screw in the joystick. And then you can screw the panel down, and when it's all done, here's what the front looks like. I have to say, now that it's taking shape, it looks very, very nice. Then you want to hook up the power to the screen, and put the cable into the back panel, and then screw the back panel into the cabinet. And here's what that looks like when it's all complete. And again, that little cable has a kind of tension release so you're not pulling on the cable. And here's what the cabinet looks like when it's all done. I have to say, overall, I didn't find it too difficult to put together. Let's go ahead and power it on. I noticed it takes a little bit from when you power on the switch to when the screen actually turns on. And after you get through the copyright information, then you're given the main menu. This is where you can choose Pac Man or Pac Man Plus.
The second machine that I got was actually the Asteroids and Centipede machine combined together. The only problem with buying this machine is that you pay twice the price for it.
However, the assembly of it is the exact same as the other cabinet I put together, so I assume they're all very similar.
Well, again, due to my rewards points and the fact that I was able to get the store that I was going to price match, I actually got this machine for less than the cost of one machine on sale. So it was actually a better deal for me to get both of these machines combined. So as a person who's assembled IKEA furniture in the past, this is very similar. At least it requires a very similar skill set. I do appreciate the fact that they only require one tool, and that is a screwdriver. They say not to use a power drill, but after a while I got really tired of trying to hold the pieces together and screw the things together, so I ended up using my power drill on a very low setting. I will warn you, you can very easily damage this wood as it is very, I don't want to say fragile, but very brittle, and if you over tighten the screws, it will come loose and break apart. So if you decide to ignore their warnings and use a power drill on it, just be very careful. You may want to test it out on something else first to let you know how to set your power drill. Alright, now that we've got it put together, let's go ahead and try out the game.
Well, as you can tell, the sound definitely works. I will note there's a slight delay between when you turn the power switch on and when it actually starts booting. Other people I've already showed this arcade machine to have noted that it seems like it takes a little bit too long to where they lose patience and think it's not actually turning on. But anyway, when it does turn on, you're given an option of choosing Pac Man or Pac Man Plus. I went ahead and started with the original Pac Man.
And I'm pretty sure this is loading the original arcade ROM, as it has the same exact startup screen where it lists all the characters before you start the game. I will note the sound is very crisp and clear and definitely is audible. There is 2 different settings on here. I actually have it on the highest so that the camera will pick it up, but I think I could actually have turned this down to the second setting, or the middle setting, and I still would have been fine with this machine. The graphics are on par, nothing looks stretched or skewed, the screen looks very crisp. I'd have to say this is probably gonna be my new favorite way to play Pac Man. And the joystick feels very responsive. The only nitpick I would have about this is that sometimes the ball unscrews, and I have to tighten it back down a little bit. But other than that, I don't really see any problems with this machine. So it's been a little while since I've played it, so I'm a little out of practice. It'll probably take me a little bit to get back up to where I can actually start beating a few of these levels. This game also came with Pac Man Plus, and I'm unsure of all of the different changes they made for Pac Man Plus, but I do know it is harder. For example, when you eat a bigger dot, it actually doesn't turn all of the ghosts into ones that Pac-Man can eat. I think it leaves 1 or 2, depending on where you're at, still active so that they can still attack Pac-Man. Alright, well that said, this project actually took a little bit longer than anticipated, so I'm going to have to split off the second machine into its own video. So in the next episode, we'll go ahead and take a look at the second machine that I got, I'll play through all the games, and I'll give you my final thoughts on these machines. If you like this video and you'd like to help out with future projects on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Also, if you enjoy the content of this channel, please remember to click on this subscribe button. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to see some of the content I've already done, feel free to click on some of the suggestions that are popping up on your screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.